Have we done it yet? Okay. All right. First off, I got to say, welcome everyone out in internet land. We're glad that you're here with us, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube. We're glad that you're here. If you're new, we welcome you. We have some new people here in our live meeting. We invite everyone to come and be with us. We are live. We're not very large at this time, so you don't have to worry about stuff. We are spaced out. So you're welcome to come be with us. Love to have you. And to all of you that are here, we're glad you're here. Especially you, Kate.
Thanks.
You know, and you kind of balance the scales of things, you know, around here. So.
Most definitely.
Okay. All right. And so tonight we're going to be doing step one. We admit that we were powerless over our problems. Right? Right? Maybe you haven't got that far yet. Over our problems, that our life has become unmanageable. And the fact of it is, doesn't mean that everything in our life is unmanageable, but our issue, our problem, our addiction, our behavior, our situation seems to control our life, and it takes so much out of my life, right? In fact, a lot of times it sinks our life. Life is rather messy.
Yep.
Yes? Definitely. Okay, I like that statement. So we're going to be talking about step one. We're going to be talking about no-win situations, and we're going to be talking about double binds, no-win situations, and you'll recognize the scenario even though you may not recognize the terminology. And we'll also, I'm going to be talking about Hagar. This is right out of the scriptures, out of Genesis 16, chapter 16, verse 1 through 15. Hagar is a picture of powerlessness. And I think it's really a good story that kind to helps us to understand that even when we're in that state of powerlessness, that doesn't mean that God's not able to come in and intervene in our life. Now, He doesn't take over our life. He gives us direction, what we need to do, right?
Yep.
And then we have to be willing to do those things.
Make the choices.
Would you agree with that?
Yep.
All right. We're going to start off with something I normally do. It's thoughts, questions, and quotes. And I got a lot of stuff here, and it was hard to figure out what I didn't want to do. So you may have to endure a little bit here. So is that okay? You up to that? Okay. Let's see. Do I want to start with him? I think I'll hold him off. Let's go with Marcus Aurelius. You guys like Marcus Aurelius?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. This is a long one, but I really like it. He says, when someone wrongs you, ask yourself, what made him do it? Isn't that a good question?
Mm-hmm.
Once you understand his concept of good and evil, you'll feel sorry for him and cease either and cease to either be amazed or angry. Some of the old English is a little hard to navigate sometimes. If his concept is similar to yours, then you will bound to forgive him, since you would have acted as he did in a similar circumstance. So far makes sense? All right. But if you do not share his idea of good and evil, then you should find it even easier to overlook the wrong of someone who is confused in a moral muddle. So he pretty much covered the gamut there, right? Because we're not responsible for other people's actions. We're only responsible for our response to their actions, right?
Correct.
Okay. Well, here's another Marcus Aurelius. I guess I was in a Marcus Aurelius mood here. It says, these things you think about determines the quality of your mind. Another translation says the stain of your mind, but I like this term here, quality of your mind. Your soul takes on the color of your thoughts. So maybe we ought to think about what we're thinking about.
Yep. All the time.
All the time. Well, I got exclamation marks by there. I don't know. We'll throw this one out at you and see what you think. This is Michael Singer, and he says, tell your mind to be quiet, that you are okay, because you will be okay as soon as you are okay with everything.
Okay.
It's kind of, again, make
Makes sense.
okay. I thought it was, like I said, I put 3 exclamations by it. I like this one too, and this is William James. He's the father of psychology in the, at least that's how he's noted, and a novelist too, from what I understand. It says, starts off with a part of it, and then it says, restates it again. It says, belief creates the actual fact. Okay? He says, be not afraid of life. Believe that life is worth living, and you'll believe, and your belief will help create the fact. Did you have a question? Let's do at least one more here. Oh, I like this one. This is from Helen Keller. Everybody familiar with Helen Keller? Okay. Helen Keller said this. It says, the best, is that the right one? Yeah. The best and most beautiful things in the world cannot be seen or even touched. They must be felt with the heart.
Oh, coming from a person, yeah, that she was blind, wasn't she?
She was.
She was blind and she was deaf. Blind and deaf.
And deaf, that's correct.
Really? There was a movie about Helen Keller come on back in the 60s. Patty Duke played her.
Yeah.
That's really good.
That was before your time, but it was.
Oh, that dance for a moment. I'll never grow up.
Let's see. That's not the one that is that right? There was one more. Well, I like this one. It says, keep your face always towards the sunshine, and the shadows will fall behind you. Mm-hmm. And Jimmy Dean, I like Jimmy Dean. He says, I can't change the direction the wind blows, but I can adjust my sail to always reach my destination. Right? Let's do, this was one of the ones I was looking for. And Audrey Hepburn, anybody familiar with that name? Yeah. And nothing, I like this, nothing is impossible. The word itself says, I am possible. Impossible, I am possible. Well, I said that was the last one, but I want to give you one more here. And this is Aesop, okay? And he says, No act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted.
Yep.
Any comments about the quotes?
You're always right, though.
Well, thank you for noticing. All right, okay. Chris,
Yeah.
you're up. Chris is gonna come and read the 12 steps, and then Zach, you're after him.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Okay, the 12 steps. Number 1, we admitted that we were powerless over our problems and that our lives had become unmanageable. Do you want me to read the little...
No, just read the steps.
Okay. Number 2, we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Number 3, we made a decision to turn our wills and our lives over to the care of God. Number 4, we made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Number 5, we admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Number 6, we were entirely ready to have God remove these defects of character. Number 7, we humbly asked God to remove our shortcomings. Number 8 is we made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. And number 9, we made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Number 10, we continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Number 11 is we sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry it out. Number 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to others and to practice these principles in all our affairs.
Chris.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you, Chris.
Yes, thank you.
How's everybody doing? We're gonna do step 1. Huh? 1, because it's January.
Yes.
All right, let's start by reading the step here. Even though he already just did it. So, step 1, we admitted we were powerless over our problems and that our lives had become unmanageable. So, I don't know about you, but when I first did this step, I had a hard time with that because I felt like it was kind of a cop-out. Right? I'm powerless, I can't do anything about it. You know, like I wasn't gonna try to not use anymore. And then I kind of realized over some time, because it took me some time to, my problem is that I didn't like the idea of calling myself powerless. I don't look very powerless, I don't feel very powerless, but the truth is that sometimes we give ourselves so far over to certain things that they have quite a bit of power in our lives. Sometimes that's a substance, a belief, a person. But so this is what really helped me the most to start working on this step for real was everybody in this room has tried to stop doing whatever it is that you don't want to do, right? You've tried. You may kick your own butt if you try and fail, beat yourself up, which is counterproductive, but you've tried so hard for so long, if you could do it on your own, wouldn't you have already done it by now?
Yep.
So it isn't a sense of powerlessness that you haven't tried your hardest. It's this one thing just kicks your ass. That's what happens. And, sometimes life is like that. So, another thing that I had a hard time with is that there was parts of my life that I had that were going pretty well, and then I had this other part that, in secret, that, it's like the guy that gets up and goes to work every day, and he keeps his job and he never misses work, but then he drinks all night in the garage, but he gets up and goes to work the next day. You can function, and you can still be really in a bad way. And that's one of the problems, is that sometimes we think if my life isn't completely out of control, then maybe my problem isn't that big. Or, for example, like I had a buddy, and this buddy wanted to quit drinking because he didn't like what happened when he overdrank. He didn't want to get drunk. He didn't want to get plastered. He didn't want to get blackout drunk. He didn't like not remembering what happened, and friends climbing up the next day saying, "Hey, you're a jerk." So he wanted to quit drinking. The problem was, he really wanted to keep drinking. He just didn't want to get drunk anymore. Or he didn't want to get stupid drunk.
Didn't want consequences.
Huh?
Didn't want consequences.
Well, he didn't want to hurt anybody either. It was more than that. But the point is, sometimes we try to do a thing without really taking, like what Doug was saying a second ago, think about what you're thinking about. We try to do something without being honest with ourselves. The truth is, I like drinking. I want to keep drinking. I just want to get stupid drunk or I lose my friends. So how do I do that? Well, for a lot of folks, you can't do that. I have, I don't even know anymore. I have probably 17 plus years, and I still practice the same things that kept me sober today, my day one of recovery. Like if I go into a gas station and I find myself staring at the airplane shots on the counter, I leave. Now, chances are, I'm probably not gonna buy an airplane shot. I'm probably not gonna go peruse the alcohol, aisle. I'm probably gonna get my soda and leave. But for the next couple of hours, I'm gonna ask myself, why didn't you leave? Why didn't you follow your coping skills? Why didn't you do what you know works? That's what you do. Why do you do that? Even if I don't relapse, I don't want the mental stress or stuff that I put myself under because I didn't follow what works for me. I know people that can go in and have a drink, and they have one drink and they're fine, and that's really the truth. That's not me, because my brain says, well, if one's okay, two's just more than one. It's just one more than one. It's just two. Well, two is okay. Three. Well, if you had three, what's five?
Yeah.
Really. We bullshit ourselves more than we do anything else. It is the truth. And we have to be aware of that we are our own biggest or our own worst enemy if we're not thinking about what we're thinking about. So, and then when you get into the 3 to 5 range, then you're like, well, if I'm gonna do it, it's like a fat guy having a piece of cake. It's like, if I'm gonna have one, I'm gonna ruin my diet, I might as well have the whole cake.
Yeah.
Right? We understand that, but we're like, oh, well, I'm not gonna, if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it all the way, right? And it may not be alcohol, maybe meth, maybe something else. But if you're gonna do it, if you're gonna relapse, you're gonna make this mistake, let's make it a good one. Right?
Yep.
Why relapse and lose all that clean time for one beer or one shot? We gotta be careful about that. So, let's get to the questions here. What feelings do I experience as I acknowledge people in my life who have power, such as supervisors, spouses, religious leaders. I didn't read all that. The lighting is really bad here. What feelings do I experience as I acknowledge people in my life who have power, such as supervisors, spouses, religious leaders, and sponsors? Well, I know I'm only one in the room, but I have a problem with authority. That was sarcasm, you know.
Which part?
The only one in the room that had a problem with authority.
Notice everybody look that way?
You know, I love authority. I love police officers. I love them asking me what I'm doing or stopping me, and
Give me a hard time.
you know, I love that.
I had that tonight.
You had that tonight?
Oh, yeah.
Isn't it nice though when they want to look that you're like not freaking out about them searching your car, or you're not running? I've got away with a lot of times. I'm pretty good at getting away.
I didn't, he was undercover and I pulled up behind him to get some air. And that's when I go, oh, what's
Oh, well, he didn't pull you over. You pulled him over.
Yeah. So when I pull up to get my air, he circles, or makes a big circle around the truck stop, parks right next to me. I
Oh,
just did my thing and
yeah.
he drove off. And I had lots of thoughts for like,
Did you have your Uber Eats sign on? Maybe you thought you had food.
you know, I had lots of thoughts about it for 30 minutes. Like,
Yeah.
it sparked something inside of me, you know?
Yeah, because of the old stuff.
Yeah.
Well, he probably just left his air gauge down there and he was checking to see if he.
Yeah, he did. Sure he did.
Well, possible.
But I mean, you know, I don't know how many times I've ran from the police. And I've got away a lot.
I was
You know,
chasing that now.
But not like, I don't have to run. I almost get kind of bummed now because I kind of want to run because I enjoy that, you know, I like that, but that's not healthy. Don't do that. No, it's not healthy at all. I've literally done the whole, you see the cornfield thing in the movies? I've actually done that before. And it worked, you know. So, anyway. What do I try to escape from? What do I feel trapped by? You ever feel trapped by sobriety?
Yeah.
I mean, you can feel that way because it's like, this is your life, this is what you do. You go out on the weekend or this is when you get off work, you go buy your stuff, whatever. And then you're like, oh, well, I don't do that anymore. It's like you have to relearn who you're gonna be. And that's literally, I mean, it's your identity. It's an identity change when you're truly wanting to stop it. You know, because you don't hang out with the same people, you don't do the same thing. You know, that old saying that seems cliche now, change your people, places, and things, which is really powerful and we need to do it. But that's hard, because when I changed my people, I was really alone. And when I changed my places, I had to give up some things. And then literally when I changed, you know, my things, I gave those things up. You know, but like what I mean by people is I couldn't go to this restaurant because everybody's there. And if I go to that restaurant, what am I gonna do? No, I'm not gonna eat. I'm gonna feed something else. You know, so I mean, you have to give up some things, and then when you're laying down those things that you use to escape and cope with, substances, that's hard. You know, so you can feel trapped by sobriety, and it can feel very foreign to you. It did to me. You know, I had to wrestle with that a lot. You know.
What happens if you don't do that?
You don't get sober.
I thought we just ought to hit that nail one more time.
I mean, you don't. We all know that. We don't get sober. If you keep doing the same thing over and over again, I know that's, you know, what is it? It's insanity, right? But literally, if we keep doing the same thing over and over again, we keep getting the same result until we die. And we die early. You know, I realized one time after I was sober for a little while that and because I had been, I have my survivor of suicide tattoo, you know, and so for a long time, I dealt with suicide for a long time in my life, many, many years. And to me, they were separate. And then one day I realized all my using, all my hard living, I was just killing myself slowly. I didn't want to leave anyway. I didn't want to live anyway, right? Didn't care what I was putting in my body. Didn't care who I was around. Didn't care what kind of dangerous things I was doing. So maybe I wouldn't sit in the parking lot with a gun in my mouth, like I've done. But, you know, putting that stuff in my body, I was killing myself. You know, I could have got a bad batch any time. You know, the times I drank so much that I blacked out. I mean, I could have not woke up, or I could have been a vegetable. I mean, I was literally killing myself. I'm not trying to be hard on anybody in here, I'm just telling you my story. The people I was around, you know, they don't care about themselves, they don't care about me really. I don't really care about them. Now we say we do, we hug each other, but we're literally giving each other poison. You know, and we got legal issues, or we're having run-ins with the police officers and stuff like that. I'm getting in fights with cops and running from the police, and, you know, luckily, it's funny, I've met police officers now, or I've been pulled over now and I've been straight, and I've had police officers tell me that we shoot your kind. I've been told that like 3 or 4 times by different officers here in town. We shoot your kind. And when I, you know, like they're just doing, you know, we're doing a routine stop, don't move, you know. We shoot your kind. They actually told me that at work one time. There was a situation at work and I was assisting, and one of the officers said, "We're really glad that you're healthy now because we shoot your kind." And I said that like in front of my boss. They just couldn't believe it. And so how lucky was I all those times that the cop I'm punching in the face wasn't the one that shoots my kind. But I mean, we live that way, right? You know, and then you can take it a step further. I don't pay my bills. It's winter. There's no heat. You know, I mean, it just kind of cascades. And we lose track of it. We lose sight of it because we're not thinking. You know, and it's not even like a lot of it's our fault, because we're responsible for it because of the choices we're making, but we're not choosing. We're choosing to get messed up. But all these other things happen.
That's right.
We didn't choose these things. I didn't choose not to pay my electric, so I had heat, but I can't pay it now because I'm messed up, because I spent all my money getting messed up, you know. I'm running from the police and driving crazy, and, you know, it just cascades. All we decided to do was, well, you know what, I really can't afford it, but I want to drink more. Or I need to escape this never-ending stress or feeling in my head. I need to not remember the people I've lost. You know, like my mother passed away this September 25th. And man, that's a relapse for a lot of people. You know, and I'm grateful and thankful that it wasn't for me. You know, it's been a little over 3 months, you know. It's, but I thought about it. I thought about drinking. You know, because if that's how you cope for so much of your life, you know. 45. I'm 28, my birth certificate says 45. 45, has 17 plus years sober, I've got more time messing around, doing bad things, using bad coping skills. I didn't want to think about drinking. It just comes. You know, I wasn't suicidal, but I thought about all the times I tried to kill myself after I lost my dad. I wasn't suicidal, but I thought about it. I thought about killing myself. I thought about how when my dad died, I tried to kill myself all the time when I was 8 years old. So these things are going to come, but you still get to choose who you're going to be. And that's really the most important thing, is that you get to choose, no matter how bad it is, no matter how far it's gotten, no matter how many years, no matter how many times you relapsed. Statistically, everybody relapses at least 22 times. And then if you talk to the person who ran that study, they say that's a low number. But that's all they were allowed to put on paper. Now that's not an excuse to go, oh, well, I've only relapsed 12 times, I got 10 more to go. That's not an excuse. But I mean, most of us relapse a lot. And a lot of us die. But in the beginning, I had to choose. It felt like every minute who I wanted to be, every 5 minutes who I wanted to be, every 15 minutes who I wanted to be. I had to choose that, you know. And you don't forget all those things that you went through, all those things you did. You know, so my mom dies, and I'm like, you know, when I lost my other parent, I spent like, 2-3 years trying to off myself. You know, not that I was suicidal, but you think about that stuff. That doesn't mean you have to dive into it, you know. And we all know that if we use any of these substances to escape, it doesn't do anything for us, because the thing we're escaping from is still right there, and sometimes it's closer because we've been running from it. So we take some time off and escape, and then it's like it's closer. And then on top of that, you kick the crap out of yourself because you relapsed. So don't do that to yourself. And if you do it, stop kicking your own ass, because you cannot punish yourself enough to stop the behavior that you think is bad. It doesn't work.
That's the truth.
Look at prison. How many of us know people that went to prison and they got out and they did anything else wrong? Most of my friends, people I know, they went back all the time. So, I didn't go back, but I didn't stop making mistakes. I just didn't get caught. You can't punish that out of me. You can love that out of somebody. You can. You can let God in your life, and you can let Him love on you. Quit running from Him. You can get with a group of people that you can't run off, that love you anyway. That's what we are. Give you a spot to work it out and become something different. Who you want to be. Not who we think you should be, who you want to be. Anyway, I think I need to quit. So that's what I got for step 1. Thanks.
Thanks, Zach. Appreciate it, Zach.
Hey. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Tommy.
Man, I used to be professional at no-win situations. I mean, that's all I really knew was no-win.
Pull the mic up a little bit.
Like, I don't know, I just lived my life from one problem to the next problem and never dealt with nothing. And then when I started really getting clean in the last couple of years, I didn't know what to do with myself and my time. So I had to learn, like, what do I like to do in this sober world? So I've gotten hobbies and stuff to do, you know? But, I got some answers to these questions in the book. What feelings do I experience as I acknowledge people in my life who have power, such as supervisors, spouses, religious leaders, or sponsors? I know in my past, I wouldn't think about what I'd say before I'd say it sometimes, and I had to happen with Doug quite a few times back in the day.
Really?
Yeah,
That was in the past? Just kidding.
you mean that still happens? Wow, okay, I'll work on that.
I'm just teasing you, Tom.
Anyway. But, yeah, I was gonna bring someone with me tonight, but when Zach, I was gonna say, cause a lot of times back in the past, my mouth would overload my ass. And so I didn't bring this other person, cause they would've been screaming some things like for us talking that way here. And, I've learned something that even though I'm trying to do the right thing, some people might say, hey, don't do that. But I'm getting better, so I don't know what that was, just a thought. Sometimes I have to protect
We're glad you're
myself.
getting better, Tommy.
Oh, I'm glad I'm getting more better. Yeah. But sometimes I don't know how to approach some people, so I watch them and study their ways so I can learn them before I present myself to them, so I don't make a bad impression from the jump and suffer feelings of rejection. Because in my past, I was good at letting my mouth overload my ass. Constantly. Like, I wouldn't think before I'd speak. I'd say the wrong things at the right time. Oh, wait, what? No, I'd say the wrong things at the wrong time. What do I do to escape? What do I try to escape from my past because I no longer live there? Is sometimes I come across people that try to take me back there. You know, and it's like, even tonight with that deal with getting there in my car and the dude's like looking at me like I did something wrong. And only thing I was hoping is there was a little bit of air left in after he pulled off after putting his quarters in there, you know?
Yeah, intimidating, that's all.
Yeah, because when I pulled up, I shut my lights off. So when he started his car, he blinked all his lights, you know? And I was like, you know, back in the day, I probably would have pulled off and ran away, you know? I don't know what I would have done, you know? I was just glad that I'm in a better place today.
So let's celebrate.
Okay. Yeah, the right way, because, yeah.
Let's mark that spot and celebrate.
All right, I'll go back there on my way home and do a dance.
All right?
How do I escape my feelings such as anger, boredom, fatigue, loneliness? I tend to try to just walk away from a situation that causes anger and stay away from things that cause me anger. And if I have to deal with it, I hope I have the tools to get over it quickly so I don't resort to my old behaviors. And then for boredom, I have many different hobbies that I can access to escape the grasps of being bored. And for fatigue, rest. Go play a video game or read a book or just rest. And loneliness is a hard one because I tend to like my me time and I interact with a small circle of people. Yet for the most part, I enjoy being a loner. It's safer that way for me. Number 4, when things don't go my way or when I am in a no-win situation, what is my reaction? Traffic. I get irritated with traffic a lot because I'm in traffic a lot with my job, and I just have to learn to leave it there and get past it, because I just know that there's gonna be someone right up ahead of the road. They're gonna do something else, and so I can't be I'd have to let it go. But as I get older, I realize my pet peeves, some of them disappear. Sometimes I find new ones. I find out a lot of new stuff about myself as I stay sober. The longer I stay sober. I had a situation over New Year's. A friend decided to relapse. And I was with him for a little bit, and I realized me going, every time he sits here, have another drink, and I was, oh, okay. Pouring it out the door, you know, I was kind of a no-win situation because he was going, hey, I need a ride to get another bottle. So I thought, I just need to get away from him. And so I did. Even though I didn't drink with him, I was still in a no-win situation because I was causing him to have to go buy more alcohol. So I just got away from him. If I could, how would I change my response? And I'd say I wouldn't. I try my hardest just to be okay with things, and I'm okay with my current status in life. I mean, I'm sure there's things that can change, but right now, I think I'm okay. Any questions?
Not denying.
Thank you. Thanks.
Hey, Tommy, would you bring me that sheet off the bracelets? I forgot to do that tonight. In the midst of trying to get things worked out on this video. Yeah. Because I failed to mention that. We have bracelets for clean time, and that's what those stack of tubs are over there. By the way, we got a basket, a wicker basket over there. It's for offering, if you have offering that you'd like to put in there. But we have clean time bracelets, and we have many different colors. We have white bracelets for 1 day to 30 days. Anybody here want or need one bracelet? Okay, Tommy, will you take care of that, please? We have orange bracelets for 30 days. Anybody need a 30-day bracelet? We have a maroon bracelet, which is for 90 days. We have blue for 6 months, yellow for 9 months, glow in the dark for 1 year. We have gray for 18 months. We have black for 2 years. We have silver for 5 years. We have gold for 10 years. So if Tommy's take care of you guys, we're glad you're here, and we just want to encourage you to keep coming back, right? Make healthy choices, right? Okay. Thanks, Chris, for reading the 12 steps, and thank you, Zach, for sharing the step. I texted him, the person that had said that they were going to be doing the steps, that they were ill and they weren't going to be here, so I asked Zach to fill in. I appreciate you doing that, Zach, tonight. So, and of course, Tommy. Thank you, Tommy, for your reflection. Hey, any comments about what they've covered? Yes, sir.
I was gonna say my problem, I've been many times. I'm gonna have 1 or 2 drinks and that's it. Then I end up getting wasted. That old craving starts kicking in.
Yes.
I end up getting wasted. And I regret I did.
And so that means you need to establish a boundary, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
I wonder what that
Stay away
boundary.
from it.
I wonder what that boundary would be.
Stay away from it. Don't take the first drink.
Okay. Well, you know, you can't have a second one if you don't have a first one, right?
That's true.
And so.
Just like Rodney Dangerfield says, yeah, here, Rodney, have a drink. Have another drink, Rodney. Pretty soon it's stupid time.
Yeah. And so, how much does that cost you? How much has it cost you?
A lot.
And how much will it cost you?
A lot.
So, those are things that we ought to look at. And I know it's hard, it's tough, but we have to start somewhere. We have to begin. And sometimes we have to begin again. And we have to continue to do that. And I think a lot of things that Zach talked about it can be very helpful. I was listening to Dr. Carolyn Leaf one of her podcasts today, and she was talking about in her, in the early part of her marriage, her husband, now she's a Christian neuroscientist, and I don't know where they were in their Christian walk at that time, I don't know. But anyway, he had a problem with alcohol, and that was her husband. And finally, I think they'd been married 6 years. She said, I can't do this, and I can't expose the kids to this, and there's got to be a change. You either pick the alcohol or you pick us. And so he picked them. But the point that I was going towards was he kind of chased down some of his issues, was his childhood trauma when he was 5. His parents put him in a boarding school, and the mistress of the school, he did something, they were picking on him, and so he retaliated, hit somebody in the head with a rock because he was the little one, and he retaliated. And that night when he was at bath time, the mistress beat him up with a wire brush. And so, and that kind of just, that traumatic event, and I imagine just being at school was a traumatic event. So, that's how things are in life. It's situations and traumas and hurt and pain, and we learn to survive by these unhealthy coping mechanisms. And that's why Saturday Night Live is here, is because life is messy, and we want to help you to develop some new healthy coping mechanisms to start off with. Yes, sir?
Somebody told me one time, if you get the craving for alcohol, eat chocolate. That would kind of curb the craving.
Well, there's neuroactivity that takes place because of chocolate, which could be a case. And again, I think it would have to do with the individual and how they respond to all that. But as I was getting ready to say, healthy coping mechanisms are good, but just healthy coping mechanisms is not the place you stop. Okay, we just don't trade unhealthy mechanisms for healthy mechanisms. We have to make some changes to where we're not just continually having to cope with our issues. We work on healing our issues and being set free from our issues so they don't always run our life. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, so what we're talking about here tonight is as I mentioned earlier, about Hagar, and Hagar is a picture of powerlessness. All right, I'm going to just kind of run through this story out of Genesis. Let me find it here real quickly. I think that's where we're at, right? This is number 4. This is probably page number 3. Is that sometimes we're powerless because of our station in life. And that's the truth, right? We can have less power. And Hagar was a slave girl to Abraham and Sarai, or Sarah, as she later became. And since, so you can really see that a slave girl would, number one, be powerless because of her status or her situation, and she was a girl, and this is in biblical times, and there was, caused her to be in a less powerful status situation because she was a girl, and but she also, stop and think about it, she also had some advantages too, because sometimes we only focus on our disadvantages in life. You know what I'm talking about? Hello? And so she was a servant of one of the most powerful men in the land at that time. She was a servant girl of his wife. And so that would have some advantages too. Wouldn't you agree with that? Well, and I think this is an interesting story, and I need to go back and do a deeper research in this, but the story of Abraham, God spoke to Abraham, said that he was going to have a son, and he was going to have children, and his descendants was going to be as many as the stars in the sky, in one account. Like when he was like 75, God talked to him about that. And I would dare say that God spoke to him multiple times at different occasions to help him to build his faith that that's going to happen. Has God ever spoken to you about your situation, that there's going to be a change? And sometimes you get frustrated because it hadn't happened yet. Well, Abraham got frustrated, and his wife got frustrated, Sarah. And because, not only because they didn't have a child, but because God had promised it, and it's not done. So she come up with the idea, well, I'll give you my handmaiden, you have sex with her and have a child for us. And that's basically because she was their slave, would be their child. They had adopted as their child. That was of their household. And which was a plan, and it took some time, but she got pregnant. Now the rest of the story was, when she got pregnant, she kind of, you know how sometimes when you finally get a little personal power, or you get a little extra money, you start doing things a little differently, and maybe taking advantage of your newfound power. You know what I'm talking about? Sometimes people call it arrogance or cocky. You know what I'm talking about? You've never done that, but you know somebody that has, right? Right? And so Hagar got a little sassy, okay, and made Sarah mad. And Sarah went to Abraham and said, hey, you need to do something about this. She's treating me disrespectfully. And Abraham was smart enough to say, hey, she's your servant. You know, you deal with her, right? And so she did. And the scripture said that Sarah either did beat her or had somebody beat her to punish her for her sassiness, because she was jealous that the servant girl was now pregnant, and that she was basically, being disrespectful to her because she actually had a little bit of power. Well, you know how it is when she finally decided she was going to run off, and so she did. Now, this is a really neat part of the story, and that is she took off into the desert, into the wilderness, without any preparation, okay? And she got out there, and of course she was crying, and the bottom line here is God came to her and talked to her and asked her, hey, where'd you come from and where are you going? I thought that was a very interesting question. You can read that in Genesis. And she basically said, well, I came from my mistress' house, and I've ran away here into the wilderness. And she was wanting help from God. And God said, hey, you're going to have a baby, and his name is this, and you name him that. And you're going to have to be a mother of a son that's going to be of a great nation. He said he's going to be wild. He's not going to get along with anybody, okay? And we've seen some of that, right, in the Arab world. But he will have this blessing on him. But you have to go back. You have all this, but you have to go back. Because she had to comply with her authority in her life. And she went back and was able to do what she wasn't able to do in the beginning. I want to make sure I hit that point. She was able to do what she wasn't able to do in the beginning. And oftentimes when we have to make amends, we have to deal with our stuff, we have to work through our conflicts, we have to, hope this doesn't offend anybody, but if it does, I'm sorry, a little bit maybe. We have to grow up, right? We have to take responsibility for our life. We have to deal with and play the cards that have been dealt to us. We have to deal with it. And as we do that, then life begins to unfold for us. But if we just try to escape, take off and run, hide, avoid, disappear, numb out, isolate and pull away, the thing of it is, you're going to have a hard time getting what God has told you that He's going to give you and bring into your life. Would you agree with that? That's hard stuff, but isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
And we're not for sure exactly what we're supposed to do, but we do know what we have done that we shouldn't have done, right?
Right.
Isn't that interesting? Okay. I don't know what to do. Well, you know what you did that wasn't right, right? Yeah. Is that true? Yeah. Well, then we need to fix it. We need to clean it up. That's not easy, but it is very healthy. Wouldn't you agree?
Yep.
Just giving you a little time to think about that. So she went back and she had a child, and the best I can tell, about 10 years later, Sarah got pregnant herself. And that's still, for Sarah, she wanted to try to help God out, and we always like to help God out. Any of you ever tried to help God out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually isn't very helpful.
Yeah. My next question is, how'd that work out for you?
I'm here.
And it's a normal mistake that all us humans make, all right? But we need to learn from it. How many times have we got to do that? Play that same sad song, right?
The Israelis went 40 times
Yeah, yeah.
40 years around that mountain.
Despair.
How many times do you have to go back to jail, right?
Yeah.
For the same thing, you know? If you cuss at the judge, it's going to be a problem, right? How many times you got to do that? Now, I know none of you would ever do anything like that. So, we need to learn. We know what we shouldn't do, right?
Right.
So I like what Jordan Peterson says, just stop being, well, he says it in a different way, but basically stop being stupid, right? Just start doing those things you know you need to do. And you don't even have to do all of them at once. If you just can do maybe one a week or one a day, right? That makes a change over a while. And it changes you on the inside. And that's called recovery. Okay? Does that make sense? So Sarah was the servant girl's authority or master, and the servant girl was in a no-win situation, okay? And what that meant was she didn't have any power. She couldn't do anything. Well, she could do something. She could submit, but she didn't want to do that, right? Oh no, let's don't submit.
Of course not.
Yeah, and we'll just run and hide. Well, oftentimes our path of recovery is right through the place that we have always resisted to go. You know what I mean?
Like when you flip off the guy that's trying to help you and the judge at the same time.
Yeah.
When you flip off the officers as you're screening away from them.
Yeah. Of course, we don't know anybody that is that dim, right? We don't know anybody
I
that's.
did that, I'm just saying, now I'm damn, see what I did?
Oh,
Hand me that dim.
I didn't hear that part of your story a while ago. That must have been, or I wouldn't have.
You're selective hearing.
Do I?
You're selective hearing.
Could be, could be. So, God hears you when you pray. God heard Hagar when she prayed. A little servant girl that was powerless. And God heard her and worked and intervened in her life. So a no-win situation. I did some research on no-win situations, and this is out of the Psychology Today, and they were talking about an example of well, they called it a double bind. That means it's kind of like damned if you do and damned if you don't type of situation, you know what I mean? So it's a double bind situation, and they likened it to a mother telling her daughter, her child, it says, to be spontaneous. Okay, this is what they said in Psychology. They said to be spontaneous, and the child then has to be spontaneous, act spontaneously, but they can't act spontaneously because they have to choose to be spontaneous. So actually, then they're doing what the mother says, so it's not spontaneous. You get the bind? She's supposed to do what the mother says, but if she does what the mother says, because the mother says it, then she's not doing exactly what she says because she's been told to do it.
So it would be spontaneous to disobey.
Well, that might be. Now, that might be because that will go to a Zen story that they also shared, and that was this: a Zen master talked to his students. He said to the pupils, he says, if I say this stick is real, something's not right here. A Zen master says to his pupils, if I say this stick is real, that's it. I misspoke on the word. If you say this stick is real, I will beat you. If you say that this stick is not real, I will beat you. If you say nothing, I will beat you. Now, this is a real bind, right?
No-win situation.
It looks like a no-win situation. And we'll talk about those in a minute. It says, and then it seems like there's no way to win in this. But one pupil, however, found the solution by changing the level of communication. He walked up to the teacher, grabbed the stick, and broke it. Okay?
Now it's 2-6.
Yeah, could be. But the point here is that he backed up from the situation and he looked at a solution, even though it looked like a no-win situation, and he then took action on that situation. That first one, if you say that there is no, if the stick is not real, I will beat you. That is, if you, and this is really part of the beginning. The beginning part is good of this, and said if you, because it's accepting the way that it is, that the stick is real. But if you stop there, you're going to get beaten, right? And the rest of it was the other pupil came up with a solution by first accepting the stick was real, but needed to deal with it. This is my opinion on the statement. The next statement was, if you say that the stick is not real, then I will beat you. This is just pure denial, all right? It's not real, it's not there. Well, denial doesn't work because that's not reality, okay? That may help you to avoid a little bit, but the fact of it is, if you're an ostrich and you stick your head in the sand because something's about to run over you, it doesn't fix the problem, right? Okay, so, and the third one was, if you say nothing, and this is avoiding coping mechanism, okay? I just won't participate, and maybe nothing will happen. But again, how's that ever worked out for you, right? So, the point that I'm trying to bring out here is that we all have situations, and Tommy was talking about how that he's had multiple no-win situations, and we all have, okay? I didn't think about this until just this very moment. I remember when I was working at a company, and I was running the plant, and I was also overseeing the maintenance on the vehicles. And somebody had messed up. It wasn't me, it was somebody before me, because the highway patrol had cited one of the vehicles, and it had to be on the road that day. And they said, you need to get this fixed. And they told me, I don't care, even if you have to lie, they need to accept this so that this truck can run this evening, okay? So here I am, and the problem was fixed, but it was like 30 days past, you know what I mean? Anybody ever been in those situations? And so I was heading out to the highway patrol, and I was praying, God, what do I do? Do I make my boss mad because I don't lie? Or do I tell the truth? What do you do? I assumed that if I didn't, if this thing didn't go through, that I would be probably fired, because they were pretty strong in what they said to me about this vehicle, because there was only one of a kind truck, and it had to be done because it was a big box truck, and there was a big delivery that had to take off that night, and there was, according to them, no other way of doing it. And why I waited 30 days, I think they probably were running it anyway, you know, but anyway, here we were. So I prayed all the way there, asking God what to do. Is it all right if I tell this story? I can stop right now if you want me to. So I prayed all the way there, and I pulled up, and I went up and talked to the officer and handed him the paperwork, and he came out and started looking at the truck, and he says, well, it all looks good. I said, thank you. And he says, did you know you're late? I said, yes. He said, okay. And he signed it and handed it back to me. And then I took a deep breath, because, it was one of those situations, and that I didn't know how it was going to go. You know what I mean? So we're in those situations, and we get in those situations, and some of them are much more grave than that. I can remember standing in front of a judge one time, and they were, and I had a guy that was working for me, and he was, because of what they were doing, he was being reactive. That's probably a good way of saying it, right? Reactive. And I said, just calm down. Let's let some of this play out, okay? Don't add any fuel to the fire, you know what I mean? And but that night I saw God intervene in a situation that looked like it was all going the other way, but God turned it around. But I had to be willing to be present and be there and participate in the situation. That's my point. Does that make sense? All right? Because running and hiding, they're going to come and find you, right? haven't they? One way or another, or they'll keep looking until whatever, but anyway. So, those are no-win situations. Let's see. Here, I'm looking for this quote. Einstein said this, "No problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created it." I've heard it said that no problem can be solved from the same mind that created it. So, in other words, we have to think differently, okay? If we're in the middle of a mess, and it's in a no-win situation, we have to be willing to step back. And this is my final point here, even though it may take a little bit, but we have to be willing to step back and do something that I call go into the observer mode. And what does that mean is, can you back up from yourself and observe your behaviors? Can you do that? Can you look at how you behave, whether you like them or dislike them? Can you do that? Right? You can back up and see them, right? Can you back up and notice your feelings? Can you recognize your feelings? How you feel? That you've backed up and created a little bit of space between the observer that's observing and your emotions or feelings. Can you do the same thing with your thoughts? Can you back up from your thoughts and observe your thoughts? Do you like your thinking? Do you dislike your thinking? That's toxic thinking, you might say. I know that's a lie, but I want to believe it anyway. Sometimes we've done that, right? How'd that work out for you? So here, what I'm suggesting here, a really beneficial tool for all of us is to be able to back up and observe what's going on. I think maybe like that student may have done that was able to come up with a solution in a no-win situation. If we back up, I know oftentimes working with people, they've told me there is no way to resolve this. And I say, come on, let's think creatively here for a second. Let's take another look. Let's back up. Let's believe that there is a possibility for a solution, even though we don't know it right now. And how many times has that actually happened? And see, and that's tapping into that higher part of us, that spirit nature of us, that's there to help us if we use it. If we don't use it, then we're kind of on our own. And how's that worked out for you? Right? So, Dr. Karen Leaf talks about it as being a multiple perspective advantage. I learned it as the observer effect. And what we do is we put that distance in ourselves and we gain a different perspective, that we become disassociated from what's going on. Does that make sense? We disconnect from it just enough to be able to look at it when we're not so emotionally tied to it. Anybody ever been so emotionally tied to a situation that it picked you up and carried you away? Yeah.
Never happened to me.
Yeah. I see. And so if we can practice and implement this observer effect or this multiple perspective advantage that Dr. Leaf talks about, then we're able to back up and look at what's going on and think, feel, and choose and act the way that we would prefer to act from our wise mind, if you will, instead of our messy mind. Anybody here have a messy mind? All of us do. But we also all have a wise mind. Hello?
Yep.
Right? So, Anyway.
Mind is mind of Christ.
so, any comments? Too much? Helpful?
Yep.
Good. All right. No comments, then I'm gonna say, may the Lord bless you and keep you, and may His face shine upon you and give you His peace. And of course, always, as I always say, make healthy choices, right? And come back, see you next week. And you out there in the internet land, come and be with us. If you're not able to come and be with us, watch us online. So I know I heard from a fella just this week that talked about watching from out in Kansas. And so anyway, we're glad you're there. We just want to help you. So everybody stay safe, make healthy choices.